We are going down. So we are going down. We are going down. We are going down. 2 games into the season, 2 defeats for West Ham United. The latest one, a 1-0 defeat at Nottingham Forest. Perhaps one of the most unfortunate, unlucky games that I've ever seen. But it does feel same old season, same old West Ham. Everyone, of course, is against us, it appears. The football gods, the referees, I don't know whether he just caught up in the occasion. Nottingham Forest first Premier League home game in this millennium in 23 years, blah, blah, blah. And perhaps he just didn't want us to win. And Declan Rice, when given the opportunity to salvage a point from the City ground, may as well have put a sign around his neck going, Dean, by the way, Mr. Henderson, goalkeeper of Nottingham Forest, just so you know, I'm going to shoot in the bottom left corner. Such was the obvious nature of his run-up, or so it seemed, as West Ham fell to a defeat at Nottingham Forest to leave us 19th in the league. Jonesy, I'm assuming that you're using Flash Score this week, which will probably tell you that we're in contention for Europe or in the European spots. But unfortunately, all I can say is thank goodness for Manchester United, which means that West Ham aren't rock bottom of the Premier League table. 2 defeats, mate. Obviously, away to Nottingham Forest. It's a little bit different, a little bit of a different vibe to how the nature of the defeat against Manchester City on the opening day, but no less frustrating to be 2 games in with 0 points.
Well, mate, Flash Score do have us down as 19th this week, so they're correct. I do know that we're knee deep in a relegation battle 2 weeks into the season, but I don't really know where to start. It still feels like it's last season with that squad, with that starting 11, 2 goalkeepers on the bench, despite us going into the season desperately needing to add depth. And we're still naming 2 goalkeepers on the bench.
Yeah. And at the end of last season, mate, you must remember that we actually had centre-backs playing centre-backs. Now we've got a right-back playing centre-back and a right-back playing up front.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, it just incredibly frustrating all round. And, yeah, you're right. West Ham winning on Sunday wouldn't have quite fit the narrative that everyone was hoping for, would they? And it did feel like no one really wanted West Ham to win that game. Not even the gods. Not even
our captain. Apparently.
Not even our captain. Not even the referee, who I will say I'm ashamed to share that same name as.
Rob Jones, wasn't it?
Rob Jones. Not part of the Jones family, as far as I'm concerned.
He's out of the club, is he?
Yeah, get out, mate. Yeah,
he's not
get in the bin. Get in the bin.
Next meeting of all the Joneses, he's not welcome.
He's banished. He's out.
He's not welcome.
He's out. Just stupid.
He was giving you all a bad name, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know whether the heat got to him a little bit of sunstroke maybe, but it's just
out of obviously you're near the top, mate. Just off the top of your head, who are sort of the other prominent, like most well-respected members at the Jones Club? Was there a Rob Jones, formerly of Liverpool?
Yeah.
A right back, I believe.
Big Phil Jones. Don't forget Big Phil.
Big Phil Jones, yes, of course. Yeah, very reputable Jones. Is there a Jim Jones or
that would be me.
Yeah, but no one's getting about calling you Jim, are they?
No.
Surely.
There is a Jones in the Premier League this year. I'm sure there is.
Curtis
Jones. Yeah.
Curtis Jones. Yeah, anyone else from sort of the world of showbiz movies? I'll be honest, mate. Again, I don't sort of want to make a habit of starting these podcasts by insulting you, as I did last week as well, by suggesting you struck me as a bloke who couldn't swim. Despite I listened back to it actually, and you telling me quite adamantly that you consider yourself a strong swimmer.
I am.
I don't know. It's not the most. Yeah, so what I was going to say, mate, I don't want to be offensive, but it's not the most glamorous of names, Jones, is it? I mean,
it is one of the most popular names in. I'm not going to say the world, but the UK is one of the most alongside Smith, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair, about 98% of them are from Wales, aren't they?
Probably, yeah. And to be fair, I don't know whether I've got any Welsh blood in me. I must do somewhere down the line.
Right, here we go. Perhaps according to Google, and as you know, you can't argue with Google. The most famous one there's actually a couple of decent ones here. The top four. Can you any guesses for the top four?
I'm not that clued up on famous Joneses. I just tend to keep
consider yourself the most famous and don't look
me
downwards.
And my son, and that's about it.
Yeah, of course, Harrison. Well, Quincy.
Yeah, okay.
One of the most outstanding names. For anyone who doesn't know, big, famous record producer, musician, songwriter, and all that sort of thing. This one, should have known this one really. Big Tom.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, that one probably the other. I would say the Google rank Quincy as the most famous, then Big Tom. Third, James Earl Jones. Big American actor. Decent. You'd know him if you saw him. And another decent one, Tommy Lee of Men in Black infamy.
Yes.
Then to be fair, mate, I'm going to be quite honest. It then gets a little bit ropey. Well, Terry Jones, Monty Python. But yeah, Nora Jones, George Jones, Rashida, Shirley, Grace Jones, John Paul, Leslie, Casey, January Jones. Great name.
Now you're just rattling off names to me.
Yeah, just first. I don't recognise any of these. So to be honest, mate, I reckon easy, you're in the top 5 most famous Joneses in the world.
Oh, certainly.
I would say. Yeah, January Jones. That's just a cool name, but I don't know who that is. Anyway, so as we were saying, Rob Jones giving the clan a bad name, ensuring that he's out at the next meeting. Any other thoughts on the actual football then?
It kind of went the same way I thought it would. I thought Forest would come out the blocks. Place is going to be jumping, City Grounds, first Premier League game in 23 years. Blah, yada, yada, yada. It's all going to be a little bit ropey the first 15 minutes, but I thought we dealt with that very well and grew into the first half very, very positively. And there was a stage midway through that first half where I thought, right, now we've got to start making some of these chances count and we'll win this comfortably. I really felt like Forest had wasted that first 10, 15 minutes of dominance and allowed us back into it. And we are the better team. And I still maintain that. And then obviously what happens with the AR, and then they scored the flukiest goal you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And then
it was a flukiest goal you'll ever see.
Lingard scuffs his shot. It comes off Ben Johnson's toe. It's their striker's knee, and it goes in. And by that time, Fabianski's on the floor on the other side of the goal because he's thinking Lingard can actually shoot. So that all happens in the second half. How do you weren't hitting the bar twice and missing a penalty? I still don't know why their player wasn't sent off for that handball.
Well, James,
don't get it.
Absolute huge name guest we've got on this week. Delighted to say that joining us later on in the show to shine a bit of a light on that. Perhaps give you a bit of cause to forgive Rob Jones and invite him into that next meeting. His former Premier League referee, Mark Halsey. He's been on the show before. He's joining us. I spoke to him yesterday because I was just dumbfounded by what was going on. And I don't know whether it will be consolation or not, Jonesy, but some of the things you're saying, he may choose his words a little bit more carefully, but I think Mark will be agreeing with you. But yeah, former Prem ref Mark Halsey joining us later in the show to shine a light on some of those decisions, particularly whether or not it should have been a red card for McKenna there after he decided he was going to play volleyball as opposed to football. Right, Jonesy, we'll get on to the Nottingham Forest bit in more detail. We'll chat to Mark Halsey as well. Well then, Jonesy, as we mentioned there, disappointing result. I think more disappointing the manner of the defeat. It felt a little bit. It's more frustrating in a weird way because, than the Man City result, because I think we expected something out of the game, whereas Man City, it's more just like disappointing, a bit frustrating, and a bit boring. You're not really like surprised by what's happened, and it's kind of just a bit depressing that that's the way the Premier League goes now. But I think yesterday or Sunday it was just frustrating because you expect to get something out of the game, and it felt like we did enough. No one at all would have complained if we'd won that game 3-1, would they? We would literally so much better, the better team. Some stats I sent you yesterday, mate. West Ham's XG of 2.47 against Nottingham Forest was their highest in a Premier League game where they failed to score in the last 7 seasons. They hit the woodwork 3 times, had a goal disallowed, and missed a penalty. So, really, obviously, it's really annoying. And after losing the first game, you would like, it would have been nice to see those drop for us. And then, like we were chatting about last week, we said, didn't we, if we win that game, then the season is perfectly on track. Like a defeat against Manchester City and a victory against Nottingham Forest is precisely what would have been expected / hoped for out the first 2 seasons. So to not have any points on the board, even just the one, would have been nice, especially with the penalty as well. But I find it hard to be too. You almost sort of think, okay, well, we've got one out of the way against City. That's one of our guaranteed losses of the season that are just sort of out of the way. And then with that and Sunday, you sort of hope, okay, well, that's our one game with horrendous luck out of the way as well. So perhaps the next few weeks we'll have a few drop for us and some of those will start going in. I'm just a bit wary this week of being too catastrophic. I know I started the podcast, I appreciate, with a song saying we are going down. But I just don't want to be too, disaster. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but then you've got to remember we've got Brighton at the weekend and we never beat them. So
yeah, that is true. Someone said that in the office.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember the last time we had so much bad luck in the space of 96 minutes. Like nothing went our way. I know when you miss a penalty, like that's your own fault. Like you miss your penalty, like Declan Rice, poor penalty. That's your own fault if you miss a penalty. But the rest of it was just silly. It was circus level ridiculous. And like even to the point where even the winner was just luck.
Yeah. Even like, the winner was just like this.
Even the winner was luck, and it was just like, this is ridiculous. Like you don't get games like that. You don't get one of those games a season to that extent of being unlucky. So yeah, maybe we've done that. Forest rode their luck a lot. Without being, I was quite condescending on a voice note I sent to a Forest fan for one of their podcasts last night, going, you learn that this season, that you've got to ride your luck a little bit in the Premier League. That's what happens in this league.
It's your fault.
It's my fault.
I think it's your fault anyway for digging all Nottingham Forest out fans last week.
I said that after the game, so I'm not going to take fault for the defeat, but I was bitter. I did it like 5 minutes after the final whistle. But they did ride their luck massively, and we were just, it's just frustrating. But there were, I don't know. Do we approach it differently? Is it a different scoreline if you play some of your new signings from the off? The fact that we've still got a bit like a makeshift central defensive partnership. I think Johnson's done pretty well over the last 2 games, given he's not centre back, and he looks incredibly uncomfortable there. You
can't really blame him for what happened at with the goal, can you?
No, of course not. He's trying to stick a foot out to clear it. So that's just things happen. Another day he takes it away from the striker. So yeah, could it be any different? Probably. We played some of our new signings. Moyes said after the City game he needed to freshen things up a little bit, and then we go into the next game making one change, and that was changed for a player we already had last season. So yeah, frustrating, but just so much bad luck and so many poor decisions.
Well, look, Jonesy, you mentioned the poor decisions there. I'm delighted to say that agreed to join us today. He's been on the show before. It's former Premier League referee, friend of the show, Mark Halsey. Mark, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining. All the way from Spain, I assume. We had a chat yesterday after the Nottingham Forest game. Just about some of the decisions that were made there. Rob Jones in charge. Jonesy here, a colleague of mine on the podcast, has already said, Mark, that Rob Jones is now uninvited from the annual general meeting of all the well-known Joneses up and down the country. Don't know quite how gutted Rob Jones will be by that one. Tom and Quincy will be most disappointed, we've decided. But look, we really appreciate you joining us, Mark. We had an interesting conversation, you and I, yesterday after that game. Ahead before that, the Chelsea-Tottenham one as well. Some interesting decisions there. And obviously the West Ham stuff, there was a few different occasions. So before we get into the sort of finicky parts of it. When you're watching a game like that, you're obviously watching, I assume, through completely different eyes to Jonesy and I, and to most football fans. How do you, what sort of things are you looking out for, away from like the big incidents, when you're watching a game, like sort of referee wise, with all the work you do at the moment?
Well, yeah, Will, just first of all, I must make an apology because I'm in my daughter's bedroom to get a better Wi-Fi service up here. So they are not my pictures you can see on the wall. I don't know if you can see them.
Oh, your England posters.
Okay, you've got Phil Foden, Mason Mount, and you've got Ashford and Lingford. Lingard, sorry.
No Declan Rice.
This is my daughter's bedroom, okay? So let's get that.
Yeah, I thought you might be a little old for posters in your room, Mark, but I didn't want to say anything. Yeah, so what do you think
definitely
when you're watching a game? What are you looking for?
I could sure you. All right. Listen, I'm a. You watch the game. I watch in the same way as you guys, but obviously as well when there's big decisions to be made by the referee. Because obviously I'm with you guys in the newspaper, because I know I'm going to get a phone call. So yeah, I mean, I'm a football fan. I watch it as you guys watch it, but perhaps just a little bit differently when there's a big decision or key match incident that goes on, and just to see how it plays out and what happens and what it usually comes to, and then I start to analyse it. How he's come, his positioning, his fitness, his location of the offence, his reading of the game, his anticipation of play, and has he got the right or the correct viewing angle? You look at it, I suppose, a little bit differently sometimes when there's a big key match incident that's gone up, like we saw yesterday in both games. Yeah,
that's it. Well, look, I know Jonesy's got quite a few questions for you, Mark. So let me just kick off certainly with the first one, chronological order. Really, the disallowed goal, Said Benrahma, he was played through. Declan Rice has the ball on the edge of the box. Mikel Antonio runs past him, sort of looking like he might be making himself available. Collides with Oral Mangala, the Nottingham Forest defender.
We've lost him.
Just to let you know, let you in behind the curtain there. The Wi-Fi signal in Spain in Mark's daughter's bedroom, not quite as good as he was hoping. Hopefully we'll get Mark back in a little while. Jonesy, what were you saying beforehand? Obviously you're saying it's frustrating, and we'll get those Mark back on in a minute. Frustrating with the way it went, and it is annoying to not have points on the board. What are some positives you can take out of it? I'm thinking perhaps individual performances in particular. So Brad's had a laugh with us saying we dug Benrahma out. He did improve. But what some positive?
I think there's been a lot of Benrahma love after that game, and I think rightly so. I think he was our best player on the day. His problem at the moment, moving forward, is always going to be consistency. Can he keep it up? Can he deliver that level of performance every single week that he plays? He's got to start against Brighton.
End product, mate.
End product still needs improving, but in terms of just, he was getting himself into better positions. He was a lot more dangerous up against the opposition fullbacks. And when he got the ball out on that left-hand side, you felt like, okay, if the ball's good enough, he's going to create a chance, or he's going to cut inside a couple of times, cut inside and had a shot. I did feel like sometimes he held off of taking a shot a little bit too long. Could have had an effort on goal a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I saw Nisan Mother Brown, their player ratings, they gave him an 8 out of 10, which I thought was incredibly generous. I thought he was our best player on the day, but I don't think he was as good as an 8. I think there were aspects of his. It would have been 8 if the goal had stood. It probably would have warranted an 8, just because he scored the goal.
Because you've made a vital game.
But elsewhere, I think he was our best player on the day, but there were a couple.
Sorry to butt in, Jonesy. I think we've got Mark back.
Yeah, thanks.
There we go. Much clearer.
Thanks to my lovely daughter here, and just tell them it is your bedroom. Yeah.
Much. Thanks very much. Yeah, much clearer, Mark. We can even see crystal clear.
Yeah, well, it's I've got a better iPad. So
there we go. So yeah, what we were just we were trying to do there, just to start with the that initial decision. So Declan Rice has the ball on the edge of the box. Mikel Antonio makes like a run to sort of show for the ball, perhaps collides with Oral Mangala, the Nottingham Forest player. Mangala goes to ground. Antonio sort of throws his arms up a bit. Rice plays it through to Ben Rama. He slots it in the corner. And then Rob Jones, after a word in his ear, a review was recommended. He goes over to pitch side monitor, and as we all know, as soon as that happens, we know the decision's getting changed. What did you make of that one first off?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, it looks like that they both just collided, ran into each other. And remember, we've been told there's a higher threshold on contact this season, haven't we?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was surprised when VAR got involved, because I didn't think it was a clear and obvious error. But when you look at it again, you think, well, as Antonio's, because it was the Mangala was the nearest.
Mangala, that's it.
Yeah, Mangala was the nearest player to go and close down Declan Rice.
Yeah, he was.
And Antonio did have his hands raised. So I mean, when you look at it, you think, well, yeah, you can understand perhaps why it was given. And I think it's one of those decisions you'll be happy if it goes for you, and very unhappy if it goes against you. But was it a clear and obvious error for VAR to get involved? That's, I think that's a subjective incident. So I'm not so sure that they perhaps should have got involved. But once they did, as I say, you can understand how they come to that outcome.
Yeah, I think you've sort of advised before, Mark, that it's like Premier League or the guidance is that the on-field referees are told to follow. Once recommended for a review, they're told to follow the sort of VAR from there, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they would always go with the VAR.
Yeah, I think like you said, that was a strange one, because that is the criteria, isn't it, for VAR to get involved? Is it a clear and obvious error? I think you'd be hard pushed to say that was clear and obvious, because Rob Jones he wasn't in a terrible position, was he?
No, he was looking straight at it. And as I said, that incident is subjective. And when it becomes subjective, because some will say foul, some will say no foul.
Some might say as well, forgive me for having a claret and blue hat on, but that perhaps it was Mangala that stepped into Antonio, and why is the onus on him to move out of the way? Or if Antonio had gone down, does it look like it's 50-50 more?
I don't know. I think perhaps if Antonio perhaps hadn't raised his arms, it may have been different. They may not have looked at it.
Yeah, fair enough. Jonesy, God, do you take it from me? I know, but we'll go into the other big one first before you get into the more minutiae problems that you had with Rob Jones.
Yeah, no, the other big one was obviously the penalty in the second half, and the decision to only book McKenna rather than send him off. And I thought that was a strange decision, given that the FA rules say that it's a red card offence if deliberately stopping a goal scoring opportunity. And I know Henderson was directly behind him, but it did feel like the wrong decision was made there. Obviously, it was a penalty, but the decision to only book him rather than send him off.
I know. I mean, as soon as I was surprised that Rob Jones didn't see that in real time, because I think had he seen that, and a referee at that level should be seeing that sort of incident, because he's got an uninterrupted view, he's looking straight at it. And I think had he seen that first time off, I think he would have given it, had he seen it properly in its entirety, I think he would have given the penalty and sent
McKenna off. Yeah,
definitely, and it wouldn't have been reviewed. Now, when I saw that happen, I went handball, red card, he's got to go. He's denied a goal or his opponent's goal scoring, an obvious goal scoring opportunity, and because he's definitely made it. Irrespective of where the goalkeeper is, it doesn't matter. You don't know that he's going to save that ball. I think it was going at pace and it was above his arms, because he was already going down the goalkeeper. But that's irrespective of the goalkeeper's positioning. For me, that should have been a red card, a sending off for denying a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity, denying the opponents a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity. There's nothing in the laws of the game, in Law 12, that mentions the goalkeeper's positioning behind the player. No, nothing in the laws of the game mentioning nothing about that. So I know that I've heard some of my ex-colleagues say, they thought it was the correct decision because the goalkeeper was behind. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. It's IFAB laws of the game. Look it up. It will tell you. Now,
you made.
Go on. Sorry, Will.
An interesting about if if someone was through on goal and they were hacked down on the edge of the box, the goalie might have saved that if they'd have carried on, but he still gets sent off, doesn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, a ball over the top. The defenders, the forwards in front of the defender, just puts his arm around in the box, punches it away.
Yeah.
Goal scoring.
Who's to say Henderson would have caught it?
Goalkeeper might have saved that, so
Yeah.
we won't send him off. It's nonsense. So
No.
for me, I with my laws of the game hat on, I think they got that wrong. But obviously, people will say because the keeper's behind him, as I said before, there's nothing in the laws of the game saying about the goalkeeper's positioning behind the player. Now, that for me, that ball was going in. I don't think the goalkeeper's not saving that because he's already going down. His arms are below the ball, and the pace of the ball that was the shot going towards goal. So, personally, in my opinion, that it should have resulted obviously in a penalty, and Nottingham Forest should have gone down to 10 men.
Yeah, I know there's no telling. He might have saved it. He could easily just parried it back into Souček's path, couldn't he? Or it's not like, if he hadn't handballed it there, Henderson would definitely have caught it and play would have gone dead. Anything could have happened after.
Anything.
That.
Well, look at De Gea on Saturday against Brentford, the goal that went through his hands.
Yeah, well, exactly. The keepers have got that in them, haven't they? Especially Man United keepers.
Make the assumption that the keeper's going to make the save because the pace of the ball, that was in my opinion, that was going in the back of the net. And you can understand why David Moyes was most probably unhappy.
Go on then, Jonesy. you run with this one.
I've only got two others that I'd like to get your view on, Mark, actually, because you see it quite a lot in Premier League games, and it was kind of, I don't know whether it's because of those two incidents we've already spoken about, kind of highlighted these for me a little bit more. But I think first of all, the decision to give Rice a yellow card after just 2 fouls in the first 10 minutes or so. I thought that was quite. Some people say, because there were 2 tackles outside sort of the edge of the area. That's why the referee decided to take the yellow card him so early, just for 2 fouls. But then you've got their centre back who was fouling Antonio left, right, and centre and didn't get booked at all game. I mean, from a referee's perspective, where's the line in terms of I've got to book him there, or But
there's no line. I mean, it's simple. A careless challenge is a free kick and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
A reckless challenge is a free kick and a caution. Mm-hmm. And a challenge that endangers the player's safety is a free kick and a red card. But, it has to be Law 12, fouls and misconduct. Now, it all depends on the referees. You can referee with common sense. I mean, if you have 3, 4, 5 small fouls, you tend to, listen, on the 5th foul, you say to the player, if you do any more fouls, irrespective, I'm going to caution you for persistently infringing the laws of the game. So that's so you're a persistent offender that's persistently committing fouls and giving away free kicks. Now, obviously, with Declan, obviously, referee on those situation deemed that the second one he got cautioned on, wasn't it, outside? He deemed that perhaps, although there could be a careless challenge made, it could have been stopping a promising attack. So if you're committing an offence and the referee deems it stopping a promising attack, that means there's no one else around him, no defenders around him. He's got a clear run on the pitch, clear run towards goal. Then he will pick up a yellow card if that's his first offence. And I mean, listen, we do see some inconsistencies with shirt pulls and those sort of things, but generally, referees should give about 4 or 5 fouls if they are persistently infringing the rules of the game. But as I say, if you've got a player that commits his first offence, and that first offence is a careless challenge, but in doing so, it stops a promising attack, then he will be cautioned.
Yep, fair enough. And the other one from me was, particularly in the first half, every time Antonio got the ball back to goal, holding the ball up, near Kite and Mangala in particular, may as well have been having piggybacks off him. And I think he only won 2 or 3 of those in terms of, he was backing into the defender a little bit. Defender would be all over him, dragging him to the floor. A couple of times he'd be dragged to the floor and there was no foul. It was play on. And I wanted to kind of get your view on that. I mean, at what point does a 50-50 tussle for a ball become a foul in those situations where it's striker holding the ball up against a defender behind him?
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? You as a referee, you referee what's in front of you. and you do allow a certain amount of physical contact because football is a contact sport. So it's how high that referee's tolerance level is in those situations. Now, if he's letting a lot go, and he's allowing that sort of his tolerance levels up high, then he's got to maintain that throughout the game for consistency. Now, if he doesn't do that, then that's when you get your inconsistency and you get people, whinging about, well, hang on, he's give one there and he's not give that one. Look at the handle, he's got hold of him, he's got his arms around him, and 1 minute he gives it and the next minute he doesn't. So on those situations, it is very difficult. And I think if you've got that amount of physical contact going on where he's completely, remember, these players are not silly. These forwards, they stick their backsides out, they stick their backsides into him, don't they? So then the players then got to put his arms on him or try and get close to him. So it is a difficult one. It is a very difficult situation. But I think if you set your tolerances too high with those situations, you're gonna have trouble. You're gonna cause trouble. So for me, I think you've got to get in early, nip them in the bud. And as soon as you see that sort of, when it goes above that tolerance level, bang, you nip it in the bud and you give the free kicks. The defenders are soon stop doing it if you're giving one or two in and around the penalty area.
Yeah, look, Mark, it's been absolutely brilliant. It's sort of fair to say then, from a non-biased point of view, which we do our best to not be, but obviously we want West Ham to win every single week.
Just like I win every week. What a strike from a header from our goalkeeper at Sunderland, eh? What a goal! Yeah.
But would you suggest then, would it be reasonable to say that West Ham fans are not being unreasonable if they feel a bit hard done by the refereeing decisions or the official decisions that went against them, to speak, at Nottingham Forest?
Listen, I can understand the goal being disallowed. I can understand that, but for me, the penalty was a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity for the opponents, and the player at McKenna should have been sent off and Nottingham Forest down to 10 men, my opinion. But that's going by the laws of the game,
which is what
law 12 fouls misconduct.
Supposed to do, right? Yeah. I mean, you're saying that as if which is only going by the laws.
But I think they're hiding behind the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper, that's nonsense. As I said earlier, there's nothing in the laws of the game that point to the positioning of the goalkeeper in those situations. It's if a player denies a goal or an obvious goal scoring opportunity with a deliberate handball anywhere.
It's black and white.
Anywhere.
There's no grey in it. Yeah.
Anywhere. He has to be sent from the field of play.
Yeah.
And that's
brilliant.
If you look at the IFAB sending off offences, handling the ball, that will tell you. You can go into the laws of the game yourself on your laptop. Yeah.
Well, we need it. We've got the oracle of all refereeing knowledge to talk to us and tell us all about it instead, which is far better than me and Jonesy doing it. But look, Mark, it's been brilliant having you on. Thanks for your frank insight. As ever, I would say we hope to speak to you again in future, but we only tend to talk to you when West Ham have been hard done by. So I hope we don't speak to you until the end of May.
You never speak to us when the referee's had a great performance.
No, exactly. No, perhaps we should start. No, look, Mark, it's been brilliant. We really appreciate you joining us, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Okay, take care, my friend.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers,
Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye.
Right. Well then, Jonesy. That's Mark. That's Mark gone. Do you feel better or worse for that conversation?
I mean, I will disagree with him with the disallowed goal, but I don't feel any different purely because it doesn't change the result, does it? Whether it's right, wrong, black, white,
but
grey.
It does.
The fact is that everyone knew straight off the bat, and I'm glad that Mark said what he said about, there's nothing in the rules of the game that mention the goalkeeper's positioning in those situations. So there's just no argument there. It should have been a red card.
Yeah, that's black and white. So don't know if that makes you feel better. Surely it does, because we have actually been hard done by there. If he came on and said, "Yeah, you're both talking rubbish," like, the refereeing decisions were all fine.
It doesn't make me feel any better that our feeding a hard done by has been justified by the laws of the game. It's more just like, okay, yeah, we're right to feel hard done by about the situation. The fact that disallowed goal was open to subjectivity kind of still goes against the point of having VAR.
Mate, I'm not having that, I honestly think, Antonio's silly to do it. Genuinely, I try and be pragmatic or whatever, but I think we know what it's like these days. He's like, you give the decision a referee to make there.
This is how
you leave yourself open to it.
This is how I see it. He's making a run into the box. The replays clearly show the defender step in front of him. Just very so slightly, steps in front of him.
Yeah, he stepped towards him. Yeah,
Antonio, he's not just running at pace, right? But he's a big bloke. He's top heavy.
He didn't have to get all like, like it was a dick shaking contest and throw him to the floor and throw his arms up in the air. Why didn't he go down if he's that savvy?
Maybe, but in that situation, I think I probably didn't expect the defender to be so lightweight and go flying. Because he did go flying. Yeah. And I don't know. I felt like in that situation he was punished for being the stronger out of the two players, and he was running very fast. Guy gets in his way. He, in a natural position, puts his arms up. Initially to protect himself, but then obviously pushes himself from what? Well, the fact that he's lightweight a minute ago. He's running at 80 mile an hour.
You've turned from like pragmatic, being sensible to just claret and blue tinted glasses.
No, I genuinely believe that. Okay, he
just got to be smart, mate. He made a meal of it. He made a meal smarter there.
He made a meal of it. But at the same time, I think if the defender doesn't step in his way, that doesn't happen.
Well, he did.
Well, the defender steps in his way, so these defenders at fault for causing the altercation.
Yeah, but. So therefore, Antonio can do something with something different there, can't he? Like, he didn't have to like go steaming in and throw his arms up in the air.
Does he jump out the way?
Look at me, how strong I am. Or just step out the way, or go down.
How does he step out the way when he's running at full pace?
If the defender stepped into him, go down then, like the defender did.
Maybe.
Like it's Premier League football you're playing here. It's not like all of a sudden all the rules have changed.
Regardless
being
of that,
smart and cunning has been a thing for ages. Like Kevin De Bruyne or someone else strong wouldn't have any problem going down to try and get their team an advantage.
He could have acted a little bit differently, other than chuck him to the floor.
I'm not be doing these ones. Like,
I'm not buying that he should have tried to get out of the way because he was running. The guy stepped in front of him right at the last minute, so he's not getting out of the way of that for a start. But one thing I do question is the defender at the time was the nearest player to Declan Rice. Yeah. The fact that it's very obvious that the defender has no intention of trying to track Declan Rice down by the fact that he steps in front of Antonio. If he's trying to close Declan Rice down, right? Yeah. You can go, and then Antonio wipes him out. Fair enough, but he's not. He's holding off. He's holding off Declan Rice. Antonio runs past Declan Rice, and the defender steps in front of Antonio. So therefore, he might be the closest player to Declan Rice, but he's got no intention of playing Declan Rice, if you know what I mean. So therefore, that kind of for me, that wipes that part of the argument out. It's like, well, yeah, he was the closest player to him, but you had no intention of actually trying to press him or close him down or try and win the ball off him.
I don't know.
So that's the way I see it.
Well, you've just had a former Premier League referee come on and tell you that you're wrong to see it like that.
He's openly said that it literally is a subjective decision. I can see why that got disallowed, he said. It's a subjective decision.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean so you're allowed to decide, James, whether
I'm not deciding whether it's right or wrong. I'm just giving my opinion, and that's the way I see it.
Yeah, and this is what's right, and this is what's wrong.
And it was a wrong decision.
Yeah. No, well, look, we can take some sort of solace in the fact that, well, by the sounds of it, even if he'd come and told you that it was a wrong decision, it would have made you feel better anyway. So this is all a complete waste of breath.
Yep.
All right, then. We've got to move this along a bit, Jonesy. That's the decision. It's great to have Mark on there. The awful penalty, by the way, from I'm a bit confused.
Why is he taking the penalty?
Manuel Lanzini was warming up, about to come on, And
We're
to
not
be
making that
fair, I
mistake
was then
again.
going, huh?
We're not making that
No,
mistake
exactly.
again.
No, which is fair enough. But yeah, it was rubbish, the penalty, wasn't it? Like,
It's just twice
I'm
he's
not
missed
really
penalties
that
for
confident. Yeah,
He's
I don't
scored a
know if
couple.
he just wants to be a Mark Noble, but
I don't know. I mean, I
you're
would
not
have given
going
it
to
to
get
Ben
a
Rama. I thought Ben Rama would take it. As soon as we got it, I was like, yeah, Ben Rama will have this.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was just a really baffling decision. Like, given he's already missed.
That's obviously been agreed before, isn't it? But
yeah,
get him off pens. That's so it's just such you just don't want that uncertainty, do you? Because it was rubbish, and I just feel like he's almost too big for it. Like, and he's just not a. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I always feel more comfortable with pens when which sort of when attacking players are taking it. I was going to say, but obviously that didn't really ring true with Noble. But Noble had his own style and just never missed, did he?
Yeah, and Julian Dix, obviously.
Yeah, but that's a bit retro. I mean, in the modern day, do you know what I mean? Or someone who's just like got a track record of striking the ball cleanly. If Cresswell was stepping up, I'd be like, all right, fair enough. Yeah. Ben Rama scores the winner against City in the League Cup. Lanzini, I like it when Lanzini's stepping up because you think, he's an attacking midfielder. He knows how to strike a ball. Declan Rice, not so much. But yeah, that was disappointing. Ben Rama, you thought was man of the match, what you were talking about earlier. Interesting one, mate, to see Fabianski back in. Obviously, the injury or whatever. Do you think it's because what you said about Alphonse coming on, giving away a penalty straight away? Or there's obviously perhaps not so much of a plan to oust Fabianski as the number one after all?
I was convinced that 20-minute cameo for Fabianski at the beginning of the game last weekend before his injury
going to be his last Prem
would have been it. It would have been Areola in now, and it was almost like Moyes would have needed an excuse like that to make the change. So I was quite surprised. I think it's very obvious that, given it's Fabianski's last season, I can't imagine they'll give him another year after this. That it'd be next year that Areola slots in with the number one. But I mean, Fabianski had another good game. I thought 5 saves. I think it was looking at it earlier. Wasn't at fault for the goal whatsoever. So, I'm still happy. I'm still happy with him. I'm quite comfortable with him. There's not many goalkeepers at the age of 37 that can still perform.
No, I'm also surprised.
In the Premier League.
I'd be surprised. I would have thought, any conversations Areola would have had. He's like, I don't know, waiting another season. Is that
maybe? But then I suppose
is he likely to do that? I don't know.
At the same time, you consider the fact that if we get through the qualifier, there's a lot of cup games to play.
That's true.
He still played 20 games for us last season, and he I think only one of those was in the Premier League. So he had a lot of cup games to get involved in. Maybe that was part of it. Going, look, you're going to play in 15, 20 cup games still, mate. Like you might as well come up.
Yeah. That's assuming we, as you mentioned, get through Viborg. Well, so the first leg on Thursday, I think that's that's pretty much it on the Forest fit. It was just unlucky. You hope that we've used up all our luck. Really, if West Ham have won that 3-1, even with the 2 efforts that hit the bar and bounced down on the line, that is just bad luck. Great free kick. That could have easily nestled in the top corner. The effort from Fornals was superb as well. I'm not too beaten up. You just hope, that City game out of the way. That's one with the sort of bad luck game that's out of the way. Viborg at home on Thursday night in the Europa Conference League in the first leg of our playoffs against the Danish side, and then home to Brighton. Oh, for God's sake. Home to Brighton on Sunday in the Premier League. See if we can break that curse. I reckon this might be the time, Jonesy. This might be the time. Terrible start to the season. What a way to bounce back it will be by breaking that long curse of not having beaten Brighton in 700 games or whatever it is. But look, not the Forest game. One to put behind us at the moment. Huge relegation battle on our hands already. 19th place after 2 games at stake.